I met with President Michel and President van der Leyen last night around 2 a.m. with Minister McEntee, and the proposal on the table is one that we can't accept. Essentially, it means that Ireland will contribute much more to the EU budget, but will actually receive less back in terms of payments to Irish farmers and also funds for regional development and social development. We accept that as a country that has a growing economy, as a country that has full employment, that we will have to pay more into the European budget over the next 7 years. What we can't accept is that in return for paying more in, that we would see very significant cuts to CAP and to cohesion funds. So that's not something we can accept, and I made that very clear to President von der Leyen and President Michel last night, and on that basis I don't think we'll have an agreement today on the MFF.
Do you think that the frugal four, as they're called, are being simply too unyielding on this?
From what I've been told, although I haven't had a chance to speak to them directly, is the frugal four, the four countries that don't want any increase in the EU budget, are holding their position very hard. I understand where they're coming from. I've met them all individually, but I don't agree with that position. If we're serious about supporting agriculture across the European Union, about building up the economies of Central and Eastern Europe, about dealing, for example, with security threats and climate action, that's going to cost money. And that's why Ireland is one of the countries that is willing to contribute more to the EU budget. As a wealthy country with a growing economy, we're willing to contribute more. But the proposal is that we contribute more, and in return we get less for the Common Agricultural Policy and less for the European Social Fund and Interreg coming to Ireland. So it's kind of pay more and get less proposal, and that's one that I can't accept, and Helen and I made that very clear last night.
And is the 1.017 target that Michel is setting for the overall budget, is that a reasonable target in your view?
We don't have a difficulty with that figure as such. What we have a real difficulty with is that will result in an increase in our contributions, which we can live with. What we can't live with is a reduction in the money that we get back from the EU budget for CAP and also for Cohesion, which is Interreg and the European Social Fund and so on. So we're not really hung up on percentages of GDP. I know other countries are, but our difficulty is that the current proposal is that we make a substantially bigger payment into the budget, but actually we get less out, and that's not a position that I think can be accepted.
And you wouldn't go for a rebate like the frugal four?
There's been no discussion about rebates as yet, but we're open to proposals and ideas. But fundamentally, what I'm saying is we are willing to pay more into the EU budget as a wealthy country, but we can't have a situation whereby in return for paying more in, we get less out, particularly less when it comes to CAP.
Taoiseach, you've been...
But to answer your question, there's been no discussion about rebates or reformed rebates with us at this stage.
You've been speaking by phone to Micheál Martin. What, in your view, is the most likely outcome now? Because most people now think that Sinn Féin and the left and other parties simply don't have the numbers to form a government, and that ultimately and inevitably perhaps it will be some kind of Fine Gael, Fianna Fáil coalition.
You know, Tony, I can't predict the future. I made some attempts to predict the future over the past couple of months and I got them wrong, so I'm not going to do that again. The situation is that the leader of Fianna Fáil and I spoke by phone last night. We've agreed to meet early next week. At that meeting we'll discuss ways forward, and I will then report to the Fine Gael Parliamentary Party probably Wednesday or Thursday of next week as to whether there's any basis for any further discussions. So we'll meet early next week, and on foot of that I'll brief the Parliamentary Party of Fine Gael middle of next week and ask them and speak to them really about whether there's any basis for going forward. The position of Fine Gael is, as I said it was before, we're preparing for opposition. We think those parties that are now in opposition should form a government. They have more than enough numbers to do so. We are willing to talk to other parties about participating in government if the opposition failed to put together a government. But you know, that's not something that we're planning to do or looking for. And it could really only ever happen on the basis that there's full respect for the fact that we did win 450,000 votes in this election. We have 35 seats. We didn't win this election. But we have almost as many seats and votes as Fianna Fáil, and not that many fewer than Sinn Féin. But I don't see any evidence yet that's recognised by any other party.
No, it's a rotating Taoiseach.
Not even discussed.
Thank you. Thank you.